Hey, this is Steve Bloom, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Welcome to The Pullbag. Join us as we dig out our latest comics and discuss them with the rotating panel of the GCRN crew. So sit back and enjoy this week's Pullbag.
Hey, bub, I keep telling you, don't call me Wobby! Snicked.
I leave this as a declaration of intent, so no one will be confused. 1. Sic vis pacem parabellum. Latin. The boot camp sergeant made us recite it like a prayer. Sic vis pacem parabellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. Number 2. Frank Castle is dead. He died with his family. Number 3. In certain extreme situations, the law is inadequate. In order to shame its inadequacy, it is necessary to act outside the law, to pursue natural justice. This is not vengeance. Revenge is not a valid motive, it's an emotional response. No, not vengeance. Punishment.
Welcome to the Pullbag. This is episode 7. I am your host, TFJ and Mike, and we've been doing these Origins things for a while here in the Pullbag. Ever since episode 3, we did one at episode 3 and episode 5, and now with episode 7, I have invited the Punisher Body Count crew on with me. We have Dane, hello.
Hey there.
And we have Jake, hello.
Yeah, how's it going, Radio Land?
It's going good, and there's no transmitter around here, so I don't think the radio waves can hear us.
Well, I'm trying to create the illusion here.
Maybe they're radioactive waves, or gamma rays, or gamma radio. There you go, right there.
Yeah, welcome to Gamma Radio Land.
Yeah, there you go.
We should also, to keep the radio illusion going, add in some shitty sound effects and have horrible jock names.
Like Coffee Boy?
Coffee Boy, or like,
Cigar Head?
Yeah, no, we have to have like crazy animal names, like the Jaguar on WNBC.
Oh, God.
Welcome to the morning fucking comic zoo.
Can I be Jacob Wild Man Williams?
Exactly. And I'll be Dane the Don Lamont. Just own that Italian stereotype.
Oh, boy. Just make sure Tony Soprano's not coming after you.
We are the godfathers of comic nerd podcasting.
Yeah, he
Let's
is.
splice that into a bumper.
Oh, wow. I'll send you this raw recording after we're done, but... Okay, so we are here to talk about Dane and Jake's comic reading. If you've listened to Punisher Body Count, which just recently joined up with GCRN, when did you guys join it? What was
it was at the first of the year, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what episode of your show it was. Was it episode 13, 14?
Oh, like...
No.
29 or 30.
29, that's what it was. Yeah,
It was in the 30s.
Yeah. But yeah, they do a podcast all about the Punisher. They have Frank Castle on the brain. You know, it's a good thing you guys don't do a podcast all about Dick.
Well, if you listen to the show, sometimes it's hard to tell. Side.
Wow.
We followed the Kevin Smith formula, which is dick jokes plus fart jokes equals podcast gold.
No, like you didn't intend this, but I'm not kidding you. We had a lot of podcasts have test episodes, like episode 0.
Yeah.
Let's see how shit works out. We did an episode 0 about this Punisher Max comic. It was like a one-shot, and it was about the Punisher infiltrating some pornography sex ring that actually captured people. And they had a guy God, what was his name? Oh,
11-3.
11-3, because that was the dimensions of his dick. And like that was supposed to, and they made clear that that was his dimensions when he wasn't hard. And we talked about that for like 8 minutes, just going, I can't believe this man. Is he like a mutant? Is he part of the X-Men? I've never. How can his brain continue to function if he gets a boner?
Why am I flashing to Mallrats right about now?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because that's our show. I mean, what was his name? Edward Bakey or whatever?
Brody.
Brody. Like,
Yeah.
that's our show.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
All right, so Dane, what else do you read besides Punisher stuff?
Well, my main deal cuts into 3 different categories when it comes to comics. Obviously, I really like a lot of street level Marvel Knight sort of stories. Back in the days, Marvel Knights was a real brand, and just real street level noir stories. So that can be Punisher, that can be even detective stories like Black Sad, and of course Batman every now and then. But I also like pulpy stories that kind of are either before superheroes or were inspired in that era. Like right now, I really love the Rocketeer books. Maybe I'll talk about them a little bit in the future. And then category 3 is just comics that go balls to the wall crazy. This handles a lot of the manga I read, such as Crying Freeman, Mad Bull 34, Hellsing, a little bit more mainstream there. But those are the 3 categories I normally like. It's tough for me to get into like soap opera elements or long-standing very continuity-heavy comics, though I can if I try, which is a pretty good mirror to Jake. Ask him about his biggest collection.
All right, what are you currently reading outside of Punisher? Because we can hear all about Punisher on your almost podcast. So
Right. I kind of break down my reading into 3 categories. Now, I'm one of the people ruining comics, okay? Punisher books are about the only thing that I get monthly in my pull bag at the comic book store. My wife gets X-Men and Fables, so we get those. I used to read a lot of X-Men, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But I like to buy the trade, and the main 2 series that I'm reading as they come out in trades is Walking Dead and the new IDW G.I. Joe. I'm behind on the G.I. Joe. Like, I'm still in the Cobra Civil War, but I'm anxious to catch up and get to the point where they're about to switch to the new team idea or whatever. And then I read a lot of manga when I can. The ongoing manga that I'm currently like really wrapped up in is Blade of the Immortal by Hiroaki Samura. But I pick up miscellaneous manga here and there, and I've read a lot of the classics like Lone Wolf and Cub and Lady Snowblood and stuff like that. And then I like to pick up miscellaneous graphic novels that are considered, like masterpieces in the field, like something like Mouse. I'm looking for that kind of stuff. And then recently, like as Dane mentioned, like I've really gotten into a Black Sad kick. So yeah.
now, what would you say? What would you say is the one thing that, like, as a kid, that got you? Like, what was the book or the character or who or what got you into reading comics as a kid?
You want to tee off on this one, Dane, or you want me to?
No, I asked you, Jake.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I'm bad at this. Anyway, I started getting into comics when I was in 3rd grade, I think, and there was a kid who was that I was in class with who was really into comics, and this was about the time that the X-Men 90s cartoon came on. And as a side note, I swear that the 90s X-Men cartoon is responsible for 90% of the comic book people our age. I think got them into that. But anyway, so I started getting into comics off the X-Men cartoon. But when I say I got into comics, I was one of those Chromium Age speculators, in that I was buying comics just because it had the chromium cover. I tucked them away, didn't read them, and it was more of a collector's kind of thing, as opposed to actually getting the books and reading them. I didn't start collecting comics to read until right around the time X-Men 2 came out. And then I started getting back into X-Men, and it's just all downhill from there. So that's kind of my backstory on that.
What about you, Dane? What's the earliest, or is there maybe your dad or grandfather, or
No.
Did someone get you into comics, or was it how does your story start out?
Sheer random chance, really. No one in my family has ever been interested in comic books. The only people that really collected periodicals on my side of the family was my grandparents, and my grandparents actually own the original first 5 Mad magazines. That's pretty much as collections go in our family. I, as a kid, really liked the idea of comics, but then, and I'm fairly certain this happens with a lot of people, then you see the issue number, oh man, look, Fantastic Four, that cover looks interesting, like me as an 8-year-old. Then I see it's Fantastic Four number 411, and even as a kid I go, well, geez, I don't think I'd be able to pay attention to that story, and I just would fake out. I would just move on or something. I still enjoyed, of course, many of the Saturday morning cartoons that many people of our generation enjoyed, such as the X-Men cartoon Jake brought up, the Batman, the animated series, and I kept up with that. What actually got me into comics, I did not truly get into comics until I was 17, bordering on 18. It actually happened at a privately owned bookstore in my area, and I believe I was with my mother and my sister at the time. My mother was a history teacher, and she was looking for a book for her class. And I saw a really evocative Batman comic, actually. The title of it was in... You remember that Batman Hush storyline with Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee on art, I believe? Yeah. They were in the middle of that big Hush storyline, and it was the issue 614, and it was titled Punchline, and the cover of it was Joker's facing you. He's kind of hunched over backwards, and Batman's choking the life out of him. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And like a complete fucking newbie to comics, I thought, oh my god, it looks like Batman's gonna kill him. I should buy this. This might be an important comic. God fucking damn it. But what was good about it... I barely picked up a comic in my life. I didn't know any better. But I read that comic, and I was so impressed by the drama and the action inside of it, and just the craftsmanship of a comic book. Because for me, comics were like the kind of you'd see in the newspaper comic strips. Like, okay, there's 4 squares to a page, maybe 6, sometimes a double splash page. But the way Jim Lee, I mean, some people don't like the guy, but he did a wonderful job drawing not only the action, but the emotion going on. Even little things like the borders being red, and as the rain came and the things calmed down toward the end, the red faded into white. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. Comics can be art on some level. This is neat. And then I knew, it was silly for me to think Batman was going to kill Joker, and maybe I can't care too much on emotional level. But then I started looking at other comics, and there was another comic called Sam and Twitch by Brian Michael Bendis. They were just sold as a bundle, the first 12 issues. And I read that, and I truly cared about these Spawn spin-off characters. And it made me realize, oh my god, I can care about comics. Comics are just as good as books and movies. They're not just characters punching each other to make you, to entertain you. You can have an emotional character. That's when I truly became a comic book fan. And that's when I started actively searching for comics.
Yeah, it's not all about the bing, pow, buff, oomph.
Every time
Batman 66 would have you believe.
Yeah, every time I see that, in a newspaper or a magazine, bing, bang, pow, comics, not just for kids anymore, I, just pull out a lighter and just set that on fire. I don't care if I'm at a fucking gas station. I'm just like, fuck you, Newsweek, and just burn that, I don't care that Barnes & Noble banned me. It's worth it.
I noticed, Dane, that you said you said it very lackluster, like you didn't care. But I read Batman every now and then.
Yeah, here's the problem. I really do like Batman. Batman was one of the top 3 characters that I felt I could get into in comics. Batman got me into comics. That's no lie. It was Batman 614, and I really got into the Hush storyline. Nowadays, on retrospect, Hush isn't that great, but it's good for beginners. Jeff Loeb is a very talented writer for bringing in casual or new readers. He's very talented in that manner. But then I got into Punisher and Deadpool, and those brought me in. But Batman trade paperbacks filled my shelves back in the day. My problem is, and I've brought this up on the Punisher Body Count podcast, is every time in the news segment, I often find something awful about the comic book industry, and I really have trouble supporting some of DC's decisions with how they treat their storylines, their characters, and even their creators these days. It's just very difficult. And that Batman Death of the Family story, I gave them a shot with that because Snyder I thought was a very good writer, but they really soured me on that because DC broke some of their own narrative rules or economical rules really with that storyline. It just really bugged me.
As I said back in episode 3, that's what the issue 13 of New 52 for Batman. Yeah. Steve wrote a review for it on geekcastradio.com, and I was like, ooh, I want to see this because in my head I'm thinking Batman, Kevin Conroy, Joker, Mark. Like I'm thinking in animation terms. Yeah. And I started reading it, and then I was like, ooh, I want to see what's going on with my other favorite characters, like Batgirl, like Nightwing. So that's how I got started and all that stuff. Yeah. And Death of the Family, just specifically in the Batman book, as it progressed, it got good, and the finale was like, yes, hey, let's reset to status quo, and I'm like, seriously?
You nailed it, Mike.
I mean, I think that comics in general have this problem. I mean, I didn't read Death of the Family, but I am a casual Batman fan. But the comics in general do this. I mean, this is the exact same thing that happened with Marvel Civil War. I mean, you had this great build-up, and then all of a sudden, no, Steve Rogers, you're the bad guy. Ah, shit, my bad,
you are
guys.
The demon.
Yeah.
And a paramedic squad will hug you to death. That was rough. But, Mike, I'll just bring up, you pretty much summarized what bugged me about Batman Death and the Family. What I meant earlier when I said DC kind of broke some of their narrative and economical rules, because here's how mainstream comic books work, okay? No one's going to die in a Batman fill-in issue. No one important's going to die in a Batman fill-in issue. No one's going to die at some bullshit thing, because we as readers have been trained nothing really big or groundbreaking is going to happen in someone's run in a connected comic book universe. In order for that big shit to happen, you need to wait for a mega event, like Jake just said, like Civil War. And I gotta say, Civil War did a pretty good job at that, even if with a lackluster ending. But that's the rules. Problem with Death of the Family is they put it up like it's going to be a big thing, and this one matters, guys. Joker's back. He's more serial killery than ever, and they really hint that Alfred might die or go blind or do something really fucking awful, and all he really did in the comic was all flash and no substance. He cut up his face to make a philosophical point about identity. No one in Batman's family died, and Joker said, "Oh, I know all your identities. I know where you live." And then at the end, "Oh, wait, no, I don't. I was just fucking with you. Ha ha." And Batman says, "Well, I know who you are, and I'm going to reveal your origin." And then, "Oh, no, I don't. I was just bluffing." And it just went, fucking, what was the point of this? What were you, because the whole culmination of that is, well, I guess Robin isn't going to be returning Batman's phone calls to play baseball or whatever on Sundays. Like, that's the fucking consequence of it. And I just thought, this was fucking awful. This didn't even come close to the amount of hype they were doing.
I know. And what I don't get about it is that over in Incorporated,
yeah,
they killed Damian.
Yeah.
Why? Okay, I get it. Bruce and Talia fucked. Okay, fine. Talia is the demon spawn of Ra's al Ghul. I get it, fine. Damien is essentially going to be, if Talia had her way, raised to, if he lived at that time, raised to be the next Ra's al Ghul. I fucking get it. I don't fucking care. Because the whole time I was reading Death of the Family, every time I saw Damien, it was, he had that condescending race attitude towards everyone else. Like, I don't get his animosity and rivalry with Tim Drake. I don't get that. Really? The only thing I really came away with from Death of the Family in regards to Damien is that Dick Grayson is more of a father to him than Bruce is.
Yeah.
That's all I came with. That's the only reason why I even care about the character, was because of the relationship that they showed with Nightwing and Robin. Like, Bruce, he had, like, okay, sure, Batman and Robin, what was it, 18? Yeah, it was the last issue, 18. They had Bruce mourning, and I liked that issue. I thought it was a very powerful issue and whatever else, but it's like, I just don't care about the kid if he dies. It's kind of like, back in the days when they're like, oh, death in the family, call in and vote. Do we kill him or do we keep... I mean, it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Well, and I think it would have been more powerful if the Joker had killed him.
I absolutely agree.
No. Well, maybe. Here's the problem, like, death in the family, death of the family. Like, I don't like using this word too much, but right now, like, most comic books are just relying on the memes and nostalgia of your past. Like, what was the last X-Men Avengers thing? The Phoenix bullshit. Like, it's, hey, remember the Phoenix back in the 90s from that cartoon show and maybe the comics? Yeah, we're bringing that back. And
well, they're trying to cash in on the Claremont storyline.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And the same deal with Death of the Family, because what does that remind you of? Oh, Death in the Family, where Jason Todd died. That was a very important story. So that signifies this is an important story.
Let me throw you one better. Age of Ultron. I mean,
exactly.
Not Ultron, harkening back to Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I get very picky about... And I'm not trying to be like that elitist asshole that says, I don't buy Marvel and DC. I only read Image and manga and maybe the classic IDW stuff. Like, fuck you,
well, obviously,
man.
you read Marvel. You have to. You do a podcast on one of their characters.
Sure.
Oh, and sometimes
I mean, that's...
I tell you.
I don't know. It just...
No, I think the thing is, the frustration we're talking about is that we love the medium, and I think we love the Marvel and DC characters. We're just tired of being the quote-unquote victims of their constant need to make larger and larger profit by doing just bullshit, like doing this constantly renumbering and doing new number ones every 6 months to bring in, quote-unquote new readers. I mean, I think we just want to go back to the days where... you read one issue and it's a self-contained story, but it's connecting to a larger series. And we want, or at least I want, characters, who we care about, but they can change. And that change is permanent. Like when Nightcrawler died in X-Men 2 or 3 years ago, no one gave a shit because they knew he'd be back. And I think it took them like a year to bring him back. So like when characters die, they don't have any meaning. And that's kind of why I really like Walking Dead, is because the characters die. Your favorite character can die any minute, and that shit is permanent, and that's why you're in for the ride. Because they're playing for keeps, and that's what makes it interesting.
Well, like Dane was saying earlier about, hey, if you pick up Fantastic Four number 411, my thought is, oh crap, issue 411, I have 410 issues to read to catch up.
Yeah.
To where it is. And that was one of my main stigmas of not getting into comics before Marvel Now and before New 52 and all that stuff. That was one of my main things, was like, I have no interest in comics. I respect them for what they do. I like the art in comics and all that stuff, but up until last October, I hadn't read a comic since 1994, 1995. Yeah. And it's one of those things where the New 52, say what you want, good or bad for it. For someone like me, that's actually a good thing, so I can start fresh with new stories and not have that assumption of death of or death in. Yes, I knew of Death in the Family. I knew of it, but I've never read it. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen Batman Under the Red Hood, which is essentially
Oh yeah. Well, once again, it's pretty much digging up. Remember that story from decades back that everyone kind of liked? Well, let's just dig it up because, yeah. And as a business decision, I understand. Like you want to go with what's familiar, with what works, what sells.
Right.
But I think you also need to balance that off with some new ideas.
With trying new things.
Yeah, like as much as like I'm one of my favorite writers, which Jake constantly hassles me about, is Brian Michael Bendis. I actually met that man at Pittsburgh Comic-Con when I was a college student, and great guy. And he actually got me into Marvel comics, like mainstream Marvel comics. I'd only read like the edges, maybe like some Deadpool and Punisher, but as controversial as his Avengers run was, especially in the beginning when he pretty much just tore that shit apart, I was like, wow, this is new and it's taking some risks. And I go, I really like this. I'm engaged in this. I care. And I don't see that as much these days. Like I see past whatever newness is and I go, oh, wait, no, they just repackaged killing a sidekick, or they just repackaged this Chris Claremont story. Or they just brought up, oh man, remember Galactus, guys? Yeah, he's cool. I just go, oh man, it's got to be.
Remember that giant cloud in the sky?
Yeah, why? God fucking snubbed at the Oscars. Let me tell you, that cloud was up there with fucking Schindler for empathy. I love that cloud.
The best version of Galactus animated is Superhero Squad. George Takei voicing.
Oh
Galactus
my!
in Superhero Squad show.
That show's pretty underrated. Like it's weird and it's for kids, but
it's not just for kids. There's some adult humor in there too.
Yeah, I've seen it once or twice, and there is a good bit of humor. I mean, there's something in there for everyone.
Yeah.
What's great is they actually had the Punisher in that kids TV show, and Ray Stevenson, the guy who played the Punisher in Punisher Warzone, voiced him in a kids cartoon. And Punisher was a psychopath in that kids cartoon. It was great.
It's crazy.
So, real quick, I think I see what you're saying with the barrier to entry with the way comics were like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s with the with the high number issues. But I really think Marvel was onto something a little while ago when they did their .1 issues. And I think that's the way they should have kept up with it. Just whenever you're getting ready to launch a new storyline, do a .1 so that way people know where they can jump on and off with relative ease. And I don't know. I thought that was the right formula, but apparently Marvel Now is the right formula.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. You got to think. Marvel, DC, Marvel, they've been at each other's throats for the last 70 years and trying to keep up. So since DC implemented New 52, Marvel's like, oh, we got to do something too. And I don't... The only things from Marvel that I've read or that I'm currently reading, I read the two-issue limited series Iron Man 3 prequels because, hello, it's an Iron Man 3 prequel before the movie comes out, so I had to read that. That was pretty good. And then I started at 698 through 700 and then jumped over to Superior. And that's really all I'm reading from Marvel.
Superior. That comic got a lot of hate, but it kind of won me over.
It got a lot of hate, but you got to think about it, though. They're, at least for now, they are doing something completely different.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to me. It's a super villain living in a superhero skin and actually trying to be that person and trying to be better. Oh man, that is good. That's written by Dan Slott, another writer that Jake hassles me on.
That Jake absolutely hates. Yes.
Oh boy.
But
I applaud what he's doing. Like, no, I'm with you guys. I mean, I don't read Superior Spider-Man, but I do like that he's taking the risk. But I almost feel like I should go on what's that betting website, Intrade or whatever, and I feel like we should
E-Trade.
We should just like throw a bet up there, like how long it takes before it's Peter Parker Spider-Man. Nothing ever happened, just like one more day, and I'm betting it's 6 months.
Actually, it's going to end in 2 months. The whole
Oh, see,
Superior Spider-Man thing. It's really ending quick.
But that's what I'm saying.
But
Why?
whatever.
But why, as a new reader, should I care? I mean, maybe because I'm jaded on comics. I mean, I like that they're taking the risk, but what does it matter if in 2 months it's going to be this never happened. We're going to forget about this.
Even though, kind of jumping back over to DC, even though I really enjoyed Death of the Family minus how it ended,
Yeah.
what I'm looking forward to now is how they can, like issue 19 that just came out for Batman. First of all, I love that they're doing splash covers. I don't know if they're going to do splash covers for every cover now, but the whole splash hidden cover of the book of, who is Bruce Wayne's greatest enemy, and he's, who makes Batman use a gun. But I think that's great marketing, and I love that issue because I kind of saw it coming, and I kind of didn't see it coming of who the villain is in that issue. But I'm loving where they're taking Batman.
Yes.
Because, as we all know, it's been announced that in issue 21, coming out in June, they're going to do 0 year, which is the year, leading, the whole year of how he became Batman for the New 52. And I think that's great. And I think that Snyder is doing an amazing job writing it. I just think that that they should have shocked us with issue 17. Like they should have done something. Whether it's killing Alfred, whether it's killing Damian, whether it's, whatever. They should have done something in that issue other than just reset it, other than just hitting the reset button. All right, so what else? What are the things that you guys looking forward to coming up? Or is there anything that you guys, is there any I know I heard a solicit for Avenging Spider-Man that apparently Punisher's gonna meet up with Superior,
and that'll definitely be covered in the podcast. I think that would be neat because I feel what they're gonna do there. There was an issue at Daredevil where I think it was under Brubaker's run where Daredevil got sent to prison and he's kind of in a dark point in his life. Punisher actually snaps a guy's neck in public to go to prison and actually try and talk Daredevil out of his darkness, saying, listen, you really don't want to be like me. Seriously, that's not you. I kind of feel like that Avenging Spider-Man comics can be sort of like that. Like Punisher's like, listen, you're getting pretty dark here, Spider-Man. You blew a guy's head off in Times Square or what have you. I think you need to go freaking chill. When Punisher tells you to freaking chill, you got problems. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm sorry, I want to try and get your question right. You're asking about comics we're looking forward to?
like new storylines coming up that you guys are looking forward to and stuff like that.
Okay. Can I bring up some?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jake.
Oh no,
you can go, Dane.
Go ahead.
It's fine.
Okay. Well, let's see here. I'm actually going to bring up. The first thing that actually comes up to my head is Hajime no Ippo, which is a boxing manga. It's all about boxing, and I love it so much. And it's great because we've gotten to the point where in every Japanese comic where they're actually fighting Americans, and that always becomes a big issue of contention. Like, Jake has a wife, and his wife and I would talk about similar comics. And one thing that's great about a lot of manga, especially in fighting manga or stuff like that, they're all friends, and then suddenly the Americans come, and they're not necessarily super evil, but you always want to beat them because they never really forgot World War II, I guess. But now Hajime Ippo and their crew, they're in Las Vegas. Now they're fighting in the big time, and I love that because the Russian boxer, the Wolf, just beat out basically their version of Mike Tyson in the comic, except very calculated and strategic, though Mike Tyson was a pretty strategic guy too. So I'm looking forward to the Las Vegas storyline continuing. I'm also really enjoying it's a mini-series right now. I really love how IDW is handling the Rocketeer. They just put out these mini-series with a rotating creative crew, and they're doing such a good job. Right now they're doing Hollywood horror, where, I'm not kidding you, you get to see all these 30s movie stars in Hollywood, and Rocketeer is actually fighting fucking Cthulhu. It's pretty great.
Oh, wow. What about you, Jake?
I'm I'm going to deviate slightly from your question because, like, I'm really bad about not wanting to be spoiled. So, like, I go out of my way to not read reviews, or I don't really look at previews at all. I kind of like to go into the shop, browse the covers, and if something looks interesting, I like to pick it up. I'm getting ready to graduate college, and I have been ass busy this whole school year, trying to wrap up my degree and everything. So I haven't had time to really see what's out there, but I've accumulated a few books on my, stack of comics I want to get around to read to. One of the ones that I'm really anxious to dive into is The Hunter, which is the one of the Parker novels that Darwin Cook is doing for IDW. I read The Outfit and what was the other one? I don't know, that big Martini edition that they put out a year or two ago. I read that. I love Darwin Cook's artwork, and that format is really working well for him. So I'm looking forward to The Hunter. And then Dark Horse just put out a book called Emerald and Other Stories by Hiroaki Samura. He's the guy that does Blade of the Immortal. And before we recorded earlier today, one of our listeners was harassing me that I always mention Hiroaki Samura and the two guys that did Black Sad. So, to all the pull bag listeners, like, these people are some of the most underrated artist in comics right now. The guy that does Blade of the Immortal, you got to check it out. His pencils are amazing, and some people are going to be off put because it's a manga, but he does not have that big eyes, little mouth style. Everyone thinks that all manga is Pokemon, but it's not.
It is not kawaii ugu. It is not kawaii.
So I'm looking forward to that. And then just the new IDW G.I. Joe that I mentioned earlier. I need to hurry up and get caught up with Cobra Civil War, but definitely looking forward to the new G.I. Joe.
Yeah, that's the same thing for me. Outside of the DC stuff that I read, I'm just now getting into Transformers More Than Meets the Eye, and it's so stupid. I asked my comic shop to order me all 3 volumes of the trades from issue 1 to issue, I think it's 12 or whatever that the 3rd volume has, but they got me 2 of the volumes. They get me volume 1, so I had to find it elsewhere, and actually a listener, Jeremy Fine, has actually sent it to me, but I haven't gotten it yet because it hasn't come in the mail. But it's one of those things where you would think if you asked them for volumes 1, 2, and 3 that they would order all 3 at the same time, and they would have all. It was like, these 2 books are just sitting on my desk. I'm like, I want to read you, but I can't because I'm not going to just jump in the middle of the story.
Sure.
It's one of those things. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a little bit more about the current state of comics, trades, graphic novels, and pricing. Oh my.
Shut up. Shut up!
My brain's not a nice place to be.
I'm not hearing this.
We are back here on the Pull Bag, and we're going to talk about, like, we've gotten Dane and Jake's history, and now we're going to kind of talk about the current state of comics and single issues versus getting trades versus anything else, and comic pricing of all things, because I remember when comics were $1.25 for Christ's sake for single issues.
I think the first comic book I ever bought was Adjectiveless X-Men, the one that's currently X-Men Legacy. I remember when I bought my first issue, it was issue 24 with Rogue and Gambit getting ready to make out on the cover. And I think it was $1.50. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, back in my day, I could go to the comics bookstore with a dime, buy all the Superman comics, maybe some Batman, get a trolley, get some lunch, and then have just enough change for a blowjob nearby the local Dollar General.
I didn't realize you were 65 years old.
Them's were the days, friend.
And also that's bullshit because the cover price of Action Comics #1 was 10 cents.
God damn it, it's a joke. I forgot, you're an actuary. You know math. Look at me.
Wait, that was a joke? I had no idea.
Oh, man, look at me. Oh man, we're going through like all the fucking Punisher body count steps. Now, Jake, let's get this along the way. Say something disparaging about liberal arts.
I can't do that because I don't know if Mike is a liberal arts major or not.
Yeah.
Major? What's that? I only minored in college.
Yeah. Fair. But yeah, comic book prices. I was hoping we would bring this up tonight because I was listening to episode 3 of the Pull Bag, and you and Steve were complaining about comic prices, and I realized people are freaking out because they're moving up to $3.99, but like I don't know, when I first started reading comic books, I had a $5 allowance to buy comics. So buying, an X-Men issue 1 was like 20% of my income. I mean, is $3.99 20% of your income now? I mean,
no, but it's I wasn't really freaking out in that episode. I was more so just stating what we've just said. It's when we were younger, back in the 90s and stuff, comics were way cheaper than what they are now, and no, of course, $3, $4, $2, $3, $4 isn't going to break the bank, but for me, kind of like what you guys were talking about earlier about like Dane, you had said if a cover grabs you, you'll grab the issue, and that's the same thing with me. If I go into my comic shop and I see a cover that, oh my God, that looks cool, I want it just for that. I get it home and I read it, I'm like, this story isn't that great. What the hell? And it's like, I want my $4 back, damn it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure people had similar reactions back in the day.
Yeah. The good thing nowadays, though, is whether you order your comics online through websites or physical comics. We'll get into your other argument in a minute, Jake.
What, I have another argument?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
But like, I know a site, dcbservice.com, where you can order them, and it's you can order them online. I haven't looked into see what their shipping prices are, but like, I'm mainly looking for a better discount than what my local comic store would offer on Nightwing Volume 2 when it comes out. And through their site, I can get it for like under $10.
Sure.
Where at my comic shop, it would be like $12, $14.
Doesn't DCBS do free shipping on X amount, or is that their sister site, In Stock Trades?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I have not explored them enough.
Sure. I've ordered from In Stock Trades, and I know I've gotten free shipping on that.
Oh, okay.
And I hate to keep giving them free advertising.
Oh no, I don't care. That's whatever. I mean, but those are the two sites that I know of, and it's one of those things where you can. Well, my point here is nowadays you can get, whether you get them online or get them in stores, you get discounts. I get a 15% discount on each book I get from my local comic shop. So I'm actually, instead of paying $3.99, I'm paying like $3.55, or with a bag and board, I'm paying like $3.55. So it's not that big of a deal.
Well, it's good that your shop is offering 15% off. I mean, some stores, especially here in Indy, they're not giving you jack shit. The only store that's really giving you a deal is the one I go to, Hero House. When you spend $500 in store, you get a $50 gift certificate. So you could say that's roughly 10% off, but they're the only ones in town giving a discount.
Wow, that's nuts. But no, your other argument I saw on Facebook, physical comics versus digital comics.
Oh, yeah. The digital
I didn't see that. What were you talking about?
Oh no, I think I was I think I was being a little sarcastic.
You were saying something about that you would never support digital comics and something.
Oh, no. What I said was, when Saga number 12 came out, there's a big brouhaha because Apple said that the Comixology app couldn't offer Saga number 12 because of gratuitous homosexual sex. And that's not me trying to
be a lie.
Yeah, I'm
Turn out
not
to
trying
be,
to make
like-
a joke there. That's literally their
Yeah.
reasoning for doing it.
Right.
And one of our listeners has said that, yeah, it was basically pornography and Apple was in the right. But I'm like very anti-Apple products, and I don't know. I was just kind of making a joke more than anything. But I actually support digital comics. I'm going to give you the two main reasons why. Um, First of all, and Rob Briscoe has talked about this on the Uncanny X-Cast a lot, is that you can put a bunch on your tablet. You know, you can read them anywhere. The technology for reading them has finally caught up. It's not that much different from reading a paper issue, and it's just a real convenient way for people who are into that. Now, that said, the price points are all wrong. I personally am not going to pay $3, you know, for an issue that I can't turn around and sell or don't have a physical copy of. I mean, that's just not my style, but I think it's great for people, you know, who are. I just think once they've dropped the price point down to $1, and a quarter, you know, for the latest issue, you know, I think that's when it's really going to take off. And the second reason why I support it is I think it's finally going to give independent artists and comic book creators the chance to really break in. And it's something that, you know, I've explored with my comic creation endeavors, because you can, you know, once you pay an artist, once you pay a colorer, if you want to, you know, go the colors route, your budget's just not there for printing. Whereas now you can hire your art team, and now you can save it as a CBR and throw it out on the internet. Your selling point is going to become, you're going to have to work that out with Comixology or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's going to lower your barrier to entry, not having to deal with, what's the people, not Alliance, why can't I think of them? The people who distribute the comics, Diamond.
Diamond?
You don't have to play their bullshit games to getting your product to the market. So I'm actually a big fan of digital comics. I think what you saw on my Facebook was me taking cheap shots at Apple, which I do every single chance I get.
Sure does.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, it's one of those things where, like, for me, even if I had whatever, whether it's Android, Apple, whatever, even if I had a device, even if I had one of those stupid Kindle things, I don't want to I don't want to read a book digitally. I don't want to read a comic digitally. I want to actually have that physical copy.
No, I'm with you, and I'm on the same page as you.
Yeah.
But there have been times that, you know, I've had to get a digital issue, you know, for our show because the local comic shop didn't have it.
Yeah.
And I've read some on my phone, and other than the screen being a little too small, you know, on a smartphone,
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad. Like I said, I'm with you. I'd rather have the paper copy in front of me, but it's not as bad as you think, and some people prefer it that way. And I think a lot of people are just threatened by the idea of digital. They think that the paper copies are going to go away, and I don't think that's true. Digital may become the primary method of distribution, but it's never going to be the only one. Excuse me.
Well, look at something like digital firsts. Like the one I know is Batman Beyond.
Beyond? Ah, yeah.
That's a digital first, and then, you know, a couple weeks later it comes out in print. Now, I've said on the show before, and I'm not trying to repeat myself here, but my one issue with the print versions, JLU Beyond and Superman Beyond are in the same book. The title is Batman Beyond. It should have that story. Like, my one problem was in issue 13. Yeah, issue 13. The end of the 10,000 Clowns storyline, where they broke up the story. At the end of the first story, Bruce is like, Terry, call the League, and then the next story is like Flash or what it's the Justice League. That's one thing I didn't like about it. But
well, that's just bad planning on DC's part.
Yeah, it's a little strange, but no, the Batman Beyond Unlimited coming up later this year is going to get really interesting.
And I'm so glad they gave Batman Beyond another chance. It had a kind of a rocky start in comics. There's some like, oh look, Future Hush, the character no one asked for. But I'm really glad, they gave it a shot, even if it's digital first.
Yeah. Actually, the first 13 issues are coming out next month in May. 10,000 Clowns trade paperback, so I'm going to get that and actually catch up.
Okay.
Because I'm already getting I'm already getting whatever the current, like 13, 14, 15 comes out this coming week. But what I love, I just found out just after WonderCon, Kyle Higgins is taking over the writing.
That's awesome.
Yes. Because Kyle is one of those guys. I've heard him on Fat Man on Batman. Kevin Smith had him on for a 2-part episode, and I saw the WonderCon video the WonderCon that interview Comic Vine did with him. I love his writing on Nightwing, and I'm gonna love him writing Batman Beyond, because he is one of those guys that is a huge DCAU fan, and he knows how to write the stories around that continuity. And it's going to be so awesome.
Yeah, what has he written that I might have heard of? I'm not familiar with Higgins.
Nightwing, the current run.
No, he would not have read Nightwing.
Well, I want to knock you out.
No, Jake hates Nightwing. I'm cool.
I hate Nightwing with a passion.
You hate Nightwing, yet something online says your name is Dick Grayson, right?
Yeah, no, that's irony.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like, I'm being serious. I can't stand the Nightwing character.
Really?
I don't know. I just don't like him as a character. I'm always going to see him as the Diet Coke of Batman, and to me, that's not interesting. I would say my hatred of Dick Grayson has become hyperbolized, but it's only because people keep playing jokes on me. Whenever the owners at my LCS found out I don't like Nightwing, they started pulling Nightwing into my pull box, and making all kinds of those jokes. And then my wife for Christmas even got me a Nightwing T-shirt, just to kind of rub it in. But no, I'm not a Nightwing fan.
Us Nightwing questions on the show, like who would win in a fight, Batman, Punisher, or Nightwing? Oh wow, that's a close one.
See, for me, I think like Batman is that epic character. He is that character everyone wants to live up to.
Sure.
And Nightwing is Dick Grayson is the more relatable. Like, I can relate more to him and his stories than I can to...
So Nightwing's the guy that couldn't live up to the man, so he decided to lower the standard.
No, I don't think that. Batman probably looks at Nightwing...
Because Nightwing Dick Grayson actually was Batman for a while.
Yeah.
And he was very good at it. But also, I think Batman sees Nightwing as a success story. Like, Nightwing had a very tragic childhood, but Nightwing is the guy that everyone knows and likes in the DC universe. Nightwing is just a very caring, good-hearted individual, and he's a very optimistic character. I really admire that about Nightwing.
I think part of it is, again, going back to BTAS and just seeing and hearing Lauren Lester voice the character first as Robin and then later as Nightwing in the New Adventures, and just having that voice in my head. And just like when I was reading, the Bat books with Death of the Family, having Conroy and Hamill's voices in my head, that's who I hear when I read when I see Kyle Higgins writing Nightwing. I hear Lauren Lester's voice in my head, and it's just one of those things where that's why I'm connected to the character. That's why I enjoy the character, and Kyle Higgins is telling some pretty amazing stories. They're spoilers for anybody who hasn't read this online yet, but. Coming up in this month, actually, the 19 issue, he's going back to Chicago because apparently Tony Zuko is still alive.
I didn't like that. Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting because like I said, New 52 Nightwing is the only Nightwing I've read, and before that, my only exposure was BTAS. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kyle writes around the events of Robin's Reckoning.
Well, the other thing is, Zuko's daughter is in the Nightwing book, and she's actually created getting closer to Nightwing. I think the best thing Kyle Higgins can do in that book is that Tony Zuko opens up his mailbox and there's a DVD in it. It's just Nightwing plowing his daughter. I think that's the greatest revenge he can have. And just winking at the camera every now and then. And Tony Zuko goes, "Damn Nightwing. Oh, that Nightwing." Something like that. See, Batman wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he's still Robin. What up? You lose.
No, he's grown past that.
Actually, I have a serious question. Did you ever see that fan trailer, Grayson?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was amazing. Like, if they could make... I guess that's when I would like Dick Grayson. If he could go back to the Robin persona and just own it. Be like, yeah, I was Robin. What up? I'm going to smash your teeth in.
All right. And on that note, I think that's going to take us to a close here on the Pull Bag. I would like to thank Dane and Jake for joining me.
Yeah.
Keep reading those comics, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next episode. And I have no idea what the next episode is. It just depends on what the comics, what comics get released between the time this airs.
Y'all should put on the Pull Bag Fury Max. That may be the best thing that no one's reading.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Alrighty then. So, make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time.
You just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, GCRN's comic book review podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you were leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can send us an email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, @GeekcastRadio. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.